some adventures. Everybody's had a few close calls. Everybody's got a story. What's yours?
Hello, my name is David J. MacNeil, and welcome to the first episode of my podcast, Cool Story. 2 years ago, my wife and I sold our condo in downtown Toronto, Canada, and decided to buy a boat to spend the summers on in Toronto, and a villa in a small Costa Rican town called Playas del Coco to spend our winters. Not long ago, I was marveling to a friend about how many really fascinating people I had met throughout the years living in Toronto, not to mention all the new friends we had met both at the marina in Toronto as well as in Costa Rica. You should do a podcast about those people, he said. So here we are. So thanks to my buddy Jonathan Baldock for the inspiration. My first guest is my good friend Joe Motiki. I met Joe back in 1997 when I was hired to work on the after-school TV series TVO Kids Crawl Space. Joe's had many successes since those days as an actor, a game show host, a live event host, and the voice of countless characters on animated shows like Metabot, Rescue Heroes, the Total Drama series, Hotel Transylvania, Corn and Peg, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Life's a Zoo, and Stan Lee's The Seventh Portal. Joe and I had a chance to talk about his early career in children's television and life in general in show business. Also, please stick around after my chat with Joe to enjoy the first ever installment of a series we're calling
Please don't try this at home.
So again, thank you for tuning in. Here's my conversation with Mr. Joe Motiki. Hello, Joseph Motiki. How are you?
Dave, I'm doing all right, brother. How you doing, man? Okay?
I am doing great, and I'm so thrilled that you are here with me today because we have known each other for a long time.
Yeah, bro.
You are somebody that has been a big part of my life, so I'm very excited that you are the first guest on my new podcast. So happy to have you.
No, very kind of you, Dave. It's I'm glad you're doing this, and I'm excited to be a part of Ep 1 of the Cool
Episode
Story
1.
of the Cool Story podcast. That's it's exciting business, man. I'm glad you're doing it. It's exciting.
Thank you. The inaugural episode. So, Joe, why don't we start out? I did a little bit of a preamble,
Right.
which I'm going to be doing every episode, where I kind of told people a bit about your career and your life and how you got to where you are today.
It was dope, Dave. It was
It
all
was-
dope. My life is dope. Was that the preamble? Joe's life is dope.
Everything he touches turns to gold.
There
Here's
you
the
go,
Motiki
bro.
story,
There you
which is
go.
kind of true. I mean, you studied broadcasting at Ryerson University, which is now a university, right?
Yeah.
Now, the program you studied, was it a TV and radio, or was it just TV, or what was the deal?
The program was radio and television arts. So back when I started, there was a 3-year program. And then we were the last group to have the 3-year program. After we left, it became a 4-year program. So Ryerson Ryerson at the time, it was a polytechnic, right? It had been a Polytechnic Institute. Then it became Ryerson Polytechnic University. And then eventually it became a university. But we were the last guys with the 3-year program to graduate with the Bachelor of Arts in RTA. So
Right.
yes, first year was radio and just got all of our radio training. Second year was television, where we just did all of the television stuff. And then third year was sort of a mix. You could kind of go in whatever direction you wanted, wherever your passions lie, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. That's actually interesting, because that's what the program was like I studied television broadcasting at Algonquin College in Ottawa. And the year
man.
before I took the program, it was a radio and television program as well, but they ended up scrubbing that and doing a program for each. But it's pretty cool that
Okay.
you were able to study the radio as well, because you did end up doing some work in radio as well.
Look, it was nice to get a base in everything, right? I mean, that was sort of the trick of the program. Like, just you get a base in everything. So like, you study everything, you're a master of nothing, but the thing I loved about that program, Dave, was that you got to learn everybody's job, right? So no matter what it was in radio and television, film set, you had an appreciation of what everybody else was doing, so that
Right.
hopefully when you get out into the world and you become a professional, you understand what everybody else is doing, right? Which
And you
seems
respect it.
basic,
Yeah.
but, and you know this because you've been working as long as me. There's a lot of goofs who don't seem to have an appreciation of what the next man's job is and what she's doing and what that guy and why he's holding that and why that's happening. And it can affect things like on a set or wherever you might be working, right?
Yeah, that's the way it is when you take a program like that too, where you're painting flats one day, you're in the audio booth one day, you're working
Mhm.
camera one day, you're writing one day. They really put you through every different position so you can learn that, and you can also figure out what all the other people have to do, and you're more respectful
Oh,
of that work. It starts from it starts early that
yeah,
you
you
know.
would hope. Did you enjoy that program? Like, I mean,
I
did you enjoy that school at Algonquin?
Yeah, I did enjoy the program. It was good, and I met some really cool people, and a lot of them moved to Toronto with me. So we
Nice.
kind of had a family once we landed here.
Oh,
The one thing about the program that I was in was they were the year after I was there, they were building. They were going to be in a new broadcast center. They definitely had some sponsorship. They had more money. So the year that I was there, like everything was falling apart. And we were shooting stuff on like high-end cameras, which is
right.
something that you don't see anymore,
Yeah.
obviously. But they were these little, you remember high-end cameras? They had
Oh,
those tiny
bro.
little tapes or whatever. They weren't great quality, but whatever. We were just learning, so we were shooting on those. And we'd have like lights, and the barn doors were falling off the lights and stuff. And then the next year, I was like, wow, the year after we finished, all the kids were coming in, got all the brand new equipment, but they were also for the first time going to be editing offline, right? It was
Right.
digital editing.
Yes.
But the first year, none of the teachers really knew how to use any of that stuff. So I think a good chunk of their first year was kind of a little bit wasted,
Yeah.
because everybody was, trying to figure out how to use all the new equipment and all that kind of stuff. So it was probably better, having done it with the old stuff and just learning how to do your job or whatever. And then once you
Yeah.
get out into the workforce, they're going to throw you, if you are editing or whatever, they're going to throw you on the Avid, which is, for people
Right. Yep. And
who
editing.
aren't in the business, is an editing software, professional editing software, and all that. You could learn that later.
Right. Yeah.
But what we were learning was storytelling, right?
Yes. Yep.
And that's
1,000%. We were in the
the most
exact
important
same.
thing.
We were in the exact same boat, Dave. When I was in RTA, all the good stuff came the year after we left, right? Because that's when they started getting that university money. So they were able to. So brand new sets, brand new studios. The equipment was brand new. All the stuff. We were all analog. Everything that we had was like, we edited my audio in first year. My editing was splicing, the reel to reel tape,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's what I was. So I was there with the little yellow
I never
pencil
did
crayon.
that. Yeah.
All right. And then you're hey there. And you got to cue it up to the,
Yeah.
hey. And then
Yeah.
right there is where you put your little edits so you can cut. I was awesome at it, but like, that's what we learned on and everything. Right. So, by the time I got out into, I mean, look, I was performing. So, I wasn't necessarily producing and editing and all that, but all the stuff that we had learned, like so much of it was no good to us when we actually got out into the workplace. So yeah, what was great about it was the storytelling theory, actually, like being good and knowing what you're supposed to be doing when you actually get out there and stuff. And yeah, the rest of the stuff you'll catch up on, right? Like you'll figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's learning how to write, learning how to tell a story, working with others. Those are the basics of it, really, right? And then you get out there, and then you get your hands on the good equipment, and you learn how to do all that. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's the big part about taking a college course like that.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone should go to school, Dave. Everybody should go to school and go learn, go figure it out, get some skills.
Don't be ignorant.
Yeah.
Get out there, learn something. Don't be a fool.
Dave and I have had a lot of fun over the years with the word ignorant. It means a lot. What do you say? Man, that dude is just ignorant. Like, don't be ignorant.
You hit the ground running pretty quick. I mean, you're in broadcast school, and did you get the tap to do what while you're going to school?
I was still in school. I was pretty fortunate. So it was a 3-year program, right? So
Yeah.
in between second year and final year, I had a summer job working at the cemetery. over on St. Clair and Warden, right? So cemetery doing groundskeeping. What's that?
Oh, okay. You digging graves?
No, you know what? They wouldn't. The big guys got to dig the graves, but we would do all the groundskeeping, mow the lawns. We'd trim the grass around the tombstones. Every now and again, we would like dig the hole. Right? That was actually probably the best job to have. There was to dig the hole because there was hardly any trees at the cemetery. Right? So high noon in the middle of the summer was hot as balls. And you're just like, oh, and when you've got like the lawnmowers, you're pushing the lawn, there's heat coming off of the lawn. It smells like gas. And like, it was just ridiculous. When you got to dig the hole, one, you got to work by yourself, which was, I liked because you're not talking to anybody. Nobody's telling you the time. You just
have a boss in your face.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to listen to everybody. Right?
Yeah.
You have to listen to anybody like, oh man, only 15 minutes have passed. It's like, why would you tell me that, man? Like I'm dying here. I don't want to hear that. So when you're just digging a hole, it's just all right, man. It's just you and you just ignore time. It's cool in the hole because you're surrounded by nice cold dirt. The sun's not getting in. You got instant shade. Bro, that was the gig. that was the gig you wanted to dig the hole.
Yeah. It's just you in the hole.
That's right. So I was doing that summer in between second and third year. So I got to do the I was working there, and there was an ad in the newspaper. TVO was looking for a host with the most. That was the name of the ad or whatever, right? So everybody, this is 1994. All right, so this is pre-internet. This is pre, alerts on LinkedIn or Workopolis wasn't a thing yet. Like this is just like you're opening up the newspaper like Archie Bunker. Hey, what's in the want ads? You sit there and find that's what it was.
Yeah. That's how they get newbies, right? They're not putting in Playback Magazine or any of those kind of things. They're reaching out to people who are just starting in the business or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I was fortunate. That's what they wanted for this show. So my friend Stephanie had told me about the ad, and she's like, yeah, they're looking for a host. Like, you should go. So I figured, look, it'd probably be really, really good training to just go to a real live cattle call and see what it's about and try it out and, see how I feel about it, see how I like it and stuff, right? So I went to this open audition, open call at TVO. So it's located at Yonge and Eglinton, which is uptown Toronto. And it was 350 people had shown up for this thing. So the place is rammed, right? So, and they said just come with a photo and a resume. So I don't have a resume, right? I'm still in school. So I take my work resume, right? So I'm like, you filled the stock room at Goodwill. That's interesting. Oh, look at this. You delivered for the drugstore. Oh, that's cute. And so I just put all that down. I figured, look, that's my life experience. And for
you're basically employable.
Yeah. People have trusted me to do some things. So, I'm not some, complete jamoke who has never had a job before. So that's good. Then I've got for my photo, it was just a photo of me jumping on beds on one of our New Year's road trips to Montreal. So it's me jumping on the bed. It's like, okay, that's a photo I'm going to give them. So go in. Awesome. So we do have the interview and just chat and this, that, they're having a laugh at the resume. A couple of the producers, Tom Marchese, who you run into before. Good dude. He was it was all young producers, right? It was like a young team that was working on the show. So I go in, have my interview. We do a little sort of exercise, ad-libbing some stuff and everything. All right, fine. And I was stoked about it, right? I was just like, all right, man, like that went really well. That was good. So, all right. So they said they were going to, cut it down. If there's going to be a callback, get a callback. All right, fine. So get a callback. Apparently, it chopped it down to like 170. So bring me in. We're going to do some more stuff. So do some exercises, all of that. That's fine. And then it's down to like a final 8. And I go back again. So Janet Thompson is the executive producer. She had produced Street Sense over at CBC. Okay. So, established, good show. And then, it was like Tom Marchese, Adrian Callender, Christine Garris. They were like the producers on the show. All this young, look, I'm the young guy. I'm just looking at these people like, oh man, look at these like real professionals. But I'm figuring out, oh yeah, these guys are sort of having their first experiences too, right?
Sure.
Which was great. So we go in, I do my my final audition for them, and I think it goes really well. Like, it all feels good to me. For me, I'm just excited to be there, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I'm 21 at the time,
Wow.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm 21, I'm still in school, and so I'm just
Just a kid.
wide-eyed.
Yeah.
And this is look, this is a real TV station, right? Like, this ain't,
Mhm.
nonsense. It's like, all right, man, this is TVO. Like, I've watched TVO all my life. This is a station that had Jeremy. I'm a bear called Jeremy. I can do it. I can. And I'm like, this is all the. Don't laugh, Dave. I'm looking at Dave. I can see his picture as we're recording this podcast, and he's laughing on screen. But it's true. It's a real thing. So I went and I said, all right, we're gonna go in. We're gonna knock this out. So so I feel like the audition goes great. And I'll always remember because I walked all the way home. So I live in East York, which is the east end of Toronto. So
Mhm.
from Yonge and Eglinton to where I am at, say, like Woodbine and Danforth,
Yeah.
I was just so stoked. It was a sunny day. I felt so good about it. I'm like, oh man, like that was great. So I walked all the way home. Just that's how good
Yeah.
I felt. And they had told us that the plan for the show was that they were going to choose 5 hosts, and they would rotate the hosts each week. It would be a
Right.
live phone-in show at night, and they'll have a different host each week, and we'll just rotate these 5.
Mhm.
So I get the call maybe a couple of weeks later, and they say, "Yep, we loved you. You did great, and you've got it. And you're the only one. We're
Wow.
not gonna have the other hosts. We just think you're great,
You're the guy.
and it's you." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like
Wow.
this is crazy." So I was like, "All right, man, that's wicked." So so we ended up shooting the pilot for the show. So the pilot was May 30th, 1994, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to work for a month, right? So I'm going to work for a month on the show. So I'm like, okay, this is wicked. So I'm finished with my exams. I'm working at the cemetery, and I go in and we we go to prepare it. And it was the title was ifs, ads, or buts. And it was about advertising and smoking, how it's geared towards young people. TVO, for those that are listening and maybe don't know, it's the province's educational broadcaster.
That's right.
So,
Province of Ontario.
Province of Ontario. So it's all, educational programming. It's it was sort of the anti, I shouldn't say anti, it was just the station itself, the entire station it was about educating.
Yeah, it was a
And-
mandate.
Yeah, all kinds of
Yeah.
fantastic shows. So that's what this pilot is about. So it's like, all right, so we're going to do the pilot. And it was all adrenaline all the time, Dave. That was
And-
94, 95 was nuts.
And what were your parents' take on that? Like, what was their reaction to their son, being on TV? It's a pretty big deal, I'm guessing.
You know what? It was exciting for them. I mean, I'm trying to explain to them what radio and television arts is, right?
Yeah.
Because I think like every parent, they're quite, well, so what are you going to do after this? So like what job are you going to have? Like, what is it, we're doing radio the first year and there's television the second year and it's a mix of this, that. Yeah. What job are you going to have? Like, what are you going to do? Like, so
Is this a career? Can you make money?
yeah. Are you going to be an actor? Are you going to be what are you going to host? You do like, it's because so, at least if you're studying, you're going to medical school, you're going to be a doctor, right? They can tell their friends you're going to be a doctor. If you're going to engineer, whatever, there's something concrete. This industry, it could be a number of things, right? Like, it could be a writer. I could be a cameraman. But there's nothing they can sort of sink their teeth into.
Right.
So the fact that I was in school and I was like always a good student. So my parents never worried about, it wasn't like I was some sort of flighty, bohemian type that was, hey, the stars, you're gonna leave.
Your folks knew you were focused.
Yeah, so they knew I was gonna, whatever I was doing, I was gonna be okay. But it had to be a huge, not relief, but comfort in being able to see me on television, a station they know, station they sat in, I watched all the kids shows on TVO when I was growing up, and now I'm on it, and they can sit there and say, oh, okay, that's what he's doing. All right, great.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, there's a glamour to it as well, right? Like there's no questions. Like there it is, and he's on TV. And, oh boy, look at him. He's introducing people and he's doing interviews, and they can tell their friends to watch, and now they know what Eunice and Joe's kid is doing. So
and people in the neighborhood are talking about it, and it's you become a local celebrity.
Yeah, there's sort of there's a real thing. So they know, right? I mean, there's so many times in this industry where you're sitting there and you tell people, oh, I'm working on an animated show and I'm not, it's on at this time, and what character are you? And your character doesn't come on for a couple of minutes. Oh, forget it. Like I'm not hanging in for this. Like but for that, at that time, I'm on at 11 at night. And there I am. Boom. No find the channel. No all the other nonsense. There it is. So for friends, for family, like that's as fun as fun can be. And it was, and again, I'm still at school. So, so for my parents, it's like, it's the best of both worlds, right? He's in school. He's doing well in school. He's working. So we know that, we know he doesn't.
He's on the right track. He's on the right track. He's figured out what he wants to do, and he's good at it. And they must have been really proud of you. Yeah. Now, so you do how many seasons did you do of what?
So we did one season. The show got canceled. I guess it would have been canceled it was early January. So we were supposed to do a full complement. I think we were supposed to do 26 episodes. We only ended up doing 17 in total. The reason we got canceled, the word was that we were too Queen Street and not suburban enough.
Right.
And for people who, there's a street in Toronto called Queen Street, which is a pretty funky street. And especially in the 90s, it's pretty eclectic, lots happening there. And that was sort of our show, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the higher ups just didn't feel like it was what a TV Ontario show should be.
Right. You were a little too punk rock.
It was definitely too punk rock, but we understood. It was for a college crowd, right? It was for a youth audience, 20 somethings. I mean, we did shows on violence against women. We did a show about living in a world with AIDS. We had bands on every week, and we had some cool acts that came on there and stuff, right? We did shows on music. Political correctness back when the term political correctness.
You were doing episodes on stuff before it was fashionable to do episodes on that kind of stuff, right?
It was a pretty cutting edge show, which was super cool. And look, that year we ended up getting nominated for a Gemini Award for best youth program in Canada. So I mean, that was really, really gratifying to sort of have that acknowledgement that we were on the right track and we were doing something really good. And look, we all in this industry, oh man, if that show had went another season, if we've been able to do this, that, we've all got stories like that. So I was fortunate for the 17 episodes.
Sure. And you make your mark. People see you. People are taking notes. And then how long is it after that the TVO Kids opportunity comes along? Because TVO Kids, I guess, when you jumped on board, had been on the air for a year, right? It had been hosted by Patty Sullivan and Kevin Brosh. Kevin Brosh leaves there, eventually goes on to be part of the Iron Chef franchise. He does a few of those. He's hosted shows the
Thirsty Traveler.
Thirsty Traveler, right? He travels around the world. He's done some neat stuff. So he leaves. He does this. What is a year of a season of TVO Kids, and then he decides he's going to leave, and they tap you for that one, or did you have to audition?
He does a little over a year. So they launched April of '94. I did my pilot in May of '94. I get what gets canceled in January. And Janet had said that that there was interest in me doing TVO Kids, that they were looking for a third host to come on, spell the Patty and Kevin from time to time, give them a break because it's a big workload, and and they're looking to have a third host in there. So, and I remember saying to Janet, like, no, I'm gonna go to look, I'm doing school. I'm gonna concert, 'cause I got papers to write, right? Like this is,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work and everything like that. So, I just want to do these papers. And Janet had said, look, it'd be a really good opportunity, and you should do it. Like you should really consider it, and you should do it. Like she wasn't messing around. Like, look, kid, like you're being basically given a job.
Yeah.
You take the job. Like you don't, which is again is something in Canada, you don't say no to work. In this industry, there's no, maybe in the States when you hear about these actors, I read the script and it wasn't really up to snuff, so I had to pass on it. You don't pass in Canada. In Canada, hey, are you in it? Yes, you audition, you get it, you do it, done. And that's what's up. So I started making appearances. They started sort of promoting that this guy Joe was coming to the crawl space. The TVO Kids Crawl Space is the after-school block of children's programs at TV Ontario. And they would air shows like Arthur and Ghost Rider and Magic School Bus. And so this show was already now, it sort of made a mark and was growing viewers at a huge rate. And Patty and Kevin were becoming stars at in Ontario and at TVO while I'm doing the late night show. So I made my first appearance at the end of January. It was almost at the same time. I think my first day, I went out to record some stuff with them at the zoo and did some stuff with like polar bears and all of that, which was a real change of pace in terms of, the sort of really edgy stuff that I'm doing 11 o'clock at night. And now, of course, it's, an entirely different audience. But as we're taught in school,
Not so punk rock.
Not punk rock at all. This is very this went from this went from Sex Pistols to Sharon Lois and Pram. PDQ. It was like it was very different. But you know your audience, and you just do your thing, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, it's nice the way you were rolled into the show slowly too, right? So you finally you get the nod for that gig, and then the rest is history. I met you. I think I met you probably. I don't know if it's probably season 3. I don't know. Did they used to talk about seasons?
No,
so much?
you know what? It was
Not
always
really,
just years. Yeah, no. April, it was just like, a year, 2 years, 3 years, because it was on live every day after school, right? So, it wasn't like there was a, the fall finale of TVO Kids and then there's a break. It was, you worked the whole way through. It was crazy. Now, the truth is, because the time that we met on TVO Kids was not the first time that we met.
Yes, that's kind of a funny thing.
No, it's a cool story, Dave. It's
a cool story. Nice. Yes, I like the way you reincorporated the name of the show into this.
That's right.
Go ahead. Yes, it was.
No, it was the. So I'm hosting Telefest in 1995, the Telefest Awards,
which is a film festival put on by TVO.
Right.
Back in the day when they still had a bunch of money.
Yeah, exactly right. And they were looking to, sort of encourage young people to get into the industry and to do stuff. So it was at the Phoenix Concert Theater, which is a super cool venue in Toronto. Used to go dancing there, Planet Vibe Sunday nights. You go there and see concerts. And so the Telefest Awards are happening there. And I didn't host that. I was presenting. So I presented with Patty. And it was the category that you were in.
Yeah, that's right. I was at the time, I was studying broadcasting at Algonquin College. There was a group that was shooting a film. The guy who was playing the lead dropped out. Somebody mentioned me. I auditioned. I worked on this film. It was a short film called Trenton Nation. People liked it. They started shopping it around to see if they could get it in any festivals. He got into TVO Televest festival, and then they were like they. I was joking around earlier about they had some money, but they really did have some money in those days.
Yep, there was.
And I remember because it was super cool. I lived in Ottawa. I'd never really, traveled anywhere for any kind of professional reason. I was just a kid. I was 25 years old, and they called me up and they said, "Yeah, we're gonna bring you to Toronto. We're gonna pay for your train tickets and some of the other, there was about 4 or 5 of us who got our train tickets paid for. We stayed at the brand new Sky Dome Hotel, which is now the Renaissance
Oh,
Hotel.
no way. I didn't
Yeah,
know
we
that.
watched one of the first Raptor games, an exhibition game from our room, out, like
Oh,
from the window. That was
ah,
my buddy who was worked in the film as well, Tony Devlin. He went out that
Tony
day.
Devlin.
Yeah, he went out that day to do he went on his own and did CN Tower tour, and he ran into Damon Stoudemire, who was the star of that Raptors in those
Yo,
days.
he was rookie of the
And it,
year. He was the
yeah,
rookie
yeah.
of the year in '95. That's right.
And then we went to the show, and I saw myself on a big ass screen, with an audience. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, we were excited. It was like, oh, this is it. This is the beginning of something really interesting. And you were part of that story before I even knew you.
Before we knew each other, we intersected.
But I don't think we figured out until many years later that we had that connection, because we certainly didn't when I met you. I didn't connect the dots. But I think I got hired in 1997, I want to say, to work on the show. And basically my job was to come in and answer mail and respond to viewers. And it was kind of like almost like a social media job before there was social media.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It was like managing all the because we got a lot of you have to TVO kids. We got a crap ton of mail. The viewer mail that we got in that show was a lot. I mean, again, this is all pre-internet, so this isn't for us to be interactive. We'd ask for something and we got it. Hey, send us in bananas and pajamas for our bananas and pajamas party.
Yeah. Lots
Hundreds,
of artwork from kids.
Tons, right?
Yeah.
And they would mail it in, put it in boxes, mail it in. So when you were there, it was a lot to coordinate, because we had a birthday segment which was hugely popular, where parents would send in their children's birthday cards, and then it's January 25th, these are the birthdays, and we would hold up those cards, and there was a lot. There was a
lot of them, and there
and yeah,
and
you
there
walked
was,
into
there was a lot of names to figure out how to pronounce too.
That's right.
It was interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, for sure. And a mutual friend of ours, Charla, had that job before you.
Okay. Yeah. I
And
remember that.
yeah, and you knew Charla from your Ottawa days at Algonquin.
That's right. Yeah.
And then she, okay, Dave, and sort of showed you the ropes and what you're going to be doing and everything, and off we went. So it was like it was crazy. The amount of mail that we got was nuts.
Yeah.
So that's what you were doing, and just for everybody listening, because Dave is super funny and super talented. It was obvious early. It was like, oh man, like we can do stuff with this guy. So the great thing about TVO Kids was almost, it was like a sketch show in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And we would just like the way we would we organize a day, Patty and we would get the rundowns for the day. So maybe they give her Monday and Tuesday, and I'd have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it was our job to insert all of the content into the breaks. So, we take a look at what an episode was about. Maybe we work some shtick around that, right? If Dudley the Dragon was scared of going to the dentist, I decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about, the worst experience I had going to the dentist and how it all worked okay. And then you just sort of work the bits like that. And then you fill up a day. And there's like 16 breaks in a day, 12 to 16, depending on the time of year. And basically whatever we wanted to do, we did. We'd have a meeting where we then talk to whoever was directing the day, or the producer, to say, this is what I want to do, this is what I do, maybe tweak the idea a little bit. But it was kind of the Wild West. Whatever we wanted to do, we basically did. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like, all right, Patty and Joe, that's a good idea. Just do this, and off we'd go. So if we wanted to pull somebody in, if I've got an idea, it'd be really handy if maybe this guy, a character that my character could work with, or that I wanted to talk to, Dave was game for anything and everything. So Dave did a ton of stuff with us on TVO Kids, which was great. And so, we had so much fun beyond just our jobs and stuff, right?
It was exciting. It was really exciting. I've always said, and we've chatted about this quite a bit, it really was in some terms, it was a golden age of live television. Well, for anyways, in my short life at the time, because it was, I grew up in Ottawa. There was a bunch of shows that I liked growing up, and they were there was You Can't Do That on Television, which was
Right.
shot in Ottawa, and it was a
Yeah.
big deal. It ended up becoming part of the Nickelodeon franchise. They used to pour
Right.
the green goop all over people, and that became part of the Nickelodeon thing. And there's a lot of big stars that came out of that show, and it was shot in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Uh,
The
some of them,
slime started on You Can't Do That on Television.
that's right.
That
And
slime that you see now, you see these hosts, John Cena and Kevin Hart, and they go on there and it's a big deal to get slime. That started on that show in Ottawa in early mid to mid 90s or 80s even.
no, it was in the early '80s and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean, it lasted quite a long time. Wasn't Rekka on that? Our friend Rekka, she was on that. Alanis Morissette was on that.
That's right.
It
Josh
was
Morris produced it, who ended up being a producer at TVO.
Yeah, I worked with him over at YTV as well on a show he did there, and that was really, really informed my sense of humor. I liked the way they did that. I also used to love another show that we all know was the hilarious
House of Frankenstein.
Hilarious House of Frightenstein, which was
Frightenstein,
shot
right.
in Hamilton.
Yep.
So I just love that stuff. And so when I got the opportunity to work on TVO Kids, that's what it was like, right? You show up in the morning and you come up with ideas at the table, and they would be on the air by the end of the day. And you didn't have all kinds of specialists who had to double check that with the educational curriculum, which eventually had to happen. But in those days, it was like you said, it was a Wild West. And it was really cool because at the time I landed at TVO Kids, and I started studying at Second City, and I was studying with Martin Markle, who was one of the producers on this show.
Right.
And so that was kind of the thing that got it going. He was like seeing me do stuff in class, and he's like, "Why don't you do stuff in the show?"
Right.
And I started doing live stuff, and it was so exciting because there's no
thrill.
safety net. It's thrilling. It's also scary as all hell. And I can actually, if I watch some of those bits, I can see the fear in my eyes. But it was perfect. It was exciting. And I mean, I have so many great memories of that era. And then, I kind of got into the business. I was working behind the scenes, but in no time I was doing characters on YTV and CBC, and it kind of took off from there. But it was all thanks to that show and that opportunity. And part of this story for people who are listening to this, who aren't from Ontario, is that TVO and CBC, because they were government-run organizations, they were available everywhere to everybody. So so they were available on rabbit ears, right?
Right.
So cable came out or whatever, and people who couldn't afford, or people who lived in regions that didn't have cable, would watch. That's what you watch, mate. You were watching TVO and all those shows that they were producing. You're watching CBC. You're watching, the Beachcombers and these different shows that you got for free on your rabbit ears.
TVO's transmitters. I remember some of the tech guys talking to them, and they said that the transmitters got to 99.2% of the province. The province of Ontario is bigger than many countries. It is huge and it is expansive. And our signal got out to everybody. So it really was a part of the fabric of people who live in the province. But of course, the kids who live in the province. One of the common stories that I get from any kids outside of the GTA, and it was in letters, and then when I run into kids or viewers and people that used to watch the show, it's like, I only got 4 channels, Joe. We only got 4 channels, and one of them was TVO, so we'd watch that every day. That was always a common thing. The other common thing, TVO is the only channel that, like, my mom will let me watch because she doesn't like the commercials and all that, so she just trusts that show, so we have to sit there and watch it, and it was funny, and it's like, yeah, that's right. That's what's up. So that was sort of the there's an innate responsibility that you have as the host of that show, because that's a lot of heavy stuff, right? Like, I mean, you're being, that it's you. Like, we're the only people out there. If you live out in Kakabeka Falls or some place where maybe you don't get the signal that that you do elsewhere, it's like, you're the only show in town. And you
Yeah.
might think, okay, you get to rest on your laurels because it's just you, but it's got to be good.
Well, and not only that, I mean, you guys weren't just in the studio. We went out and did a lot of live events. You'd go out to the
Oh,
zoo and thousands of kids would come out. We'd be at a museum and, as many kids as they could fit in the museum. We were out there doing stuff live all the time. So you were getting direct feedback and we'd get tons of mail and phone calls. And all. Like this is before social media, but it was insane how much feedback we would get from the kids and their
yep.
parents about what they liked about the show. I remember, one of the most exciting things ever was one of the first bits I did. It was actually was one of the first. It was the first bit I wrote for the show, and I didn't even appear in it, but Martin gave me artwork. It was one of the kids had drawn looked like a frame.
Right?
Or a frame, like just like a shot from the show, like a still from the show,
Yeah.
of these characters I'd written and the piece I'd written, and I was like, wow, just the kids spend this amount of time because
They're
they love the show
engaged.
and yeah, very much engaged.
Yeah.
So
They're
that's
engaged. They see
yeah,
what they like. Once they like it, I mean, look, that might be the greatest thing about a youth audience like that, right? Like it's
mhm,
if you suck, they will tell you that you suck. Like
yeah,
there's going to be you will find out. And if they like you, then they're going to watch. If they love you, you're going to know. And you don't
mhm,
that kind of effort, to put into artwork and to send it into, you're not just doing that just because, right?
yeah,
You're doing that because, and when you think about something that you did, and then instantly somebody has drawn, I mean, that's effort, put work into it and mailed it in, something that you did, and it's forever captured, right? Like it is,
yeah,
there's so much mail of things that we did and things that we would try, and that was exciting. Getting out into the field, I mean, that was also one of the mandates of TVO, right? Trying to
mhm,
get into every nook and cranny of the province and go meet our viewers, go meet kids, go find them. One of the coolest things about that job was going out into these smaller communities, and you meet the kids, and the kids say, what are you doing here? Why'd you come here? It's like,
yeah,
hey man, this is Ontario. Like it's not all just Toronto. Like it's we wanted to come and meet you, and it would blow their minds.
yeah. No, that's a big deal. I remember an early experience like that, and I didn't live in a remote community. I lived in Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember going out with my parents one year for it was Canada Day on July 1st. Went out
Right.
to Parliament Hill, and they have a parade, and they would do the changing of the guard and the whole deal. And the parade starts happening, and there's a guy who pulls up in an old jalopy, a beautiful old car, and I was so excited to see him. It was Bruno Gerussi, who was a big star of a CBC show called The Beachcombers.
Right.
Once again, a show everybody watched because it was on
Yep.
Sunday night, and
Right.
everybody watched it because it was free. It got
Uh-huh.
you picked up on the rabbit ears, and it was exciting. It was the first
Yep.
time I had ever seen a celebrity,
Wow.
and it makes it tangible. You're like, oh,
Yes.
there's somebody showing up in my town. He works in the entertainment business. He's an actor. He's a big deal. He's right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can be part of this world. And
Right.
that's that's priceless, right? When you show up like that. And
Yeah.
this brings me to another story, which is during that period when I was working with you on TVO Kids. I remember one day we took the subway home because there was a part of that time where we lived in the same neighborhood, and we're
Right.
taking the TTC, the Toronto's public transit, the subway,
Yeah.
one of the main lines that goes across Bloor Street, going out to
Right.
the East End where we both lived. And we ran into this kid on the streetcar.
No. It wasn't a streetcar, but it was we're on the subway
Yeah,
coming south. This is Davisville, St. Clair, the step,
yeah,
and so it's rammed in the street in the subway. It's 7 o'clock, so it's not rush hour, but it's
yeah.
full, right? And I'm sitting there. I've got a seat, you've got a seat, and everyone's just close together. So he's this adorable little pudgy East Indian kid. He's got black hair and just cute face,
And a high
and
pitched voice.
and his voice is Dave loves the voice because he always does the voice. So 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 I always know, if you get the sense when someone's looking, and I've never had a problem. It's fine. It's I'm looking at him, hey, and he goes, excuse me. I'm like, yeah. Are you Joseph Motiki from TVO Kids? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And it always kills me. He said Joseph Motiki, because on the show it's Patty and Joe, right?
Yeah.
This kid was smart enough. He knew I was Joseph Motiki. Like he had the last name down.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's like, listen, could I have your autograph? I'm like, yeah, of course. So of course I've got the TVO Kids postcard. I started signing it, and everybody can hear this conversation, right? Like everyone's just, because it's ram sardines in there.
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question? Yeah. Absolutely. What's your question? What's a television superstar like you taking public transportation? And everybody laughs. Like the whole train just and this kid's like a little startled, like, whoa. And what's a television superstar like? And it was just funny. Like just the television superstar. Like even if they said taking public transportation, like, hey, listen, I just like you, I got to get to work, and driving can be crazy, so TTC is the better way, and you could just feel like the mood in the subway car was just loose,
just
after
lightened
that.
up. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
was enjoying that moment because the superstar was taking not public transportation, public transportation. Why are you taking public transportation? Yeah. And that must have been an aha moment for that kid too, right? Because that's a beautiful thing. This is like my Bruno Jersey story. It's like you once you see that person in your own milieu, taking the subway home, or whatever, being part of your life or whatever, you're like, oh, well, I don't know, that's possible, or that's less of a pipe dream or something. It's more tangible.
Look, I'm sure a lot of kids, they probably just think it's all, how do the people on TV that you like, how did Mr. Dress Up get to work? I don't know, I guess when we're really little, we think he lives there. And then when we get a little older and we figure out it's a studio and all that, I don't know if we ever thought that, Ernie Coombs was taking a limo back and forth.
Yeah.
I know CBC had some money back in the day, but, I don't think anybody was thinking that.
Yeah. Ernie Coombs didn't really seem like a limo kind of guy.
He didn't, but you never know. You never know who is and who isn't.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
It's very different when you just sort of see somebody and you just, oh, okay, well, that's, it's being on television, especially for kids. You're in a box, right? You live in a box. I remember the smallest of children at autograph signings couldn't fathom, how did you get out of the box? How did you get out of that? You were in that, and now you're out here, and you can actually touch me, and my mom's super excited to see you, but this is impossible. And then, you get a little older, and you sort of have an idea that, it's a TV show and all of that. Look, that was the great thing, like you were saying earlier, about kind of getting out to these places and letting kids actually see you in there, because you're out of context. You're out of text for them, right? Why are you here? This makes no sense. But it was always great to just sort of kind of get out and stuff, right? And events I think over the course of my time there, I'd done around 200 live events, different parts of the province, different places and all of that. I sort of figured that out when I was talking to Patty about it years after, when she was trying to figure out how much stuff she had done during our time together at TVO. And I sort of I think it was about 200. I think we'd done a little over 200. And, that's a lot of people, man. And that's a lot of lineups and autographs and meeting people. And, there's some, and, and sort of stunning people with sort of what this was. And were you at the Magic School Bus Picnic?
I don't think so. The one that I remember was the one we did at the zoo. We did a big show at the Toronto Zoo, and I remember you guys. Well, I remember
Creature Quilt Zubilee.
Yeah, we at one point we thought it was wrapped up, and you and I jumped in a golf cart, and somebody said, "Well, we'll drive you back out to the parking lot to your car, your cars, whatever." and we ran into some kids who wanted autographs, and I think we jumped out of the golf cart, and you might have been like doing an extra hour of
Yeah,
autographs or
yep,
something. Like there was a lot of that. I
yeah.
remember, and then we did an event at the Science Center
Oh, Bill
uh,
Nye.
for March break, where it was the same kind of deal. It was like you
Oh
guys,
man,
you and Patty must have done signing autographs for hours after that. Like
look,
the
it is
number of
a
kids who used to come out for those things.
yeah. It was a we did there's the Bill Nye shows at the Science Center, and look, I think everybody knows. I mean, Bill Nye the Science Guy has taken on this
Yeah.
new sort of heft in the world now. But before he had that heft, like this is the reason.
Single-handedly defending science, almost some days. Him and Sanjay Gupta.
They're a they're a two-man tag team. Like it's crazy. But he got this heft because of this show that
Mhm.
back at that time was new. And he was just, he was this young guy and everything, and he
Mhm.
was super cool. And he had come up and done stuff with us on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
But we had for March break this day when we did these shows, these live shows, and we had scheduled 3 shows at the Science Center. And again, it was just the lines. It was just, and look, the show itself, I mean, we're still only a couple of years old, right? So I mean,
Mhm.
this is all still like learning experiences for us, and how to handle a crowd and how to manage it, and to manage expectations, right? Because you tell people, hey, come out and see us.
Mhm.
You better be ready, because they're going to come out and see you, and you better
Yeah.
be ready for that, because
Yeah.
it's going to happen. And Bill Nye was super, super gracious, because look, he's a big star, right?
Yeah.
And we did double the amount of shows, and he added twice the shows. So instead of
Mhm.
3 shows, we did 6 shows
Mhm.
there that day, which meant we were able to get double the amount in. And even
Mhm.
then, there was still a lot of people that weren't going to make it,
Yep.
and weren't going to get in. So then Patty and I would, they just send us out, say, look, they're not going to make it, just go. And we just go, and we just start and just work that entire line, and just talk to the kids and talk to their parents. And so
Yeah.
at least they could say, hey, we met Patty and Joe, which
Yeah, there was a takeaway. They showed
Yeah.
up. They didn't get in, but they got press the flesh and get a little love from you
yeah.
guys.
And a little personal, even that maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds of personal time.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the people who got in got to see a cool show, but maybe didn't get to do that. So,
Yeah.
so Science Center, they found out Magic School Bus Picnic.
Mhm.
It was a huge day, because we were going to do a live show from Center Island there at the in Toronto.
Yeah.
And Magic School Bus was, again, one of the iconic, super popular shows from TVO Kids. Lily Tomlin played Miss Frizzle.
Yeah.
I believe Netflix is doing a new version now. And Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live
Oh, nice.
is the new Miss Frizzle. Yeah, so she's doing that, and which is cool. But this was the original. So we had this Magic School Bus Picnic, and we told the kids, hey, we're going to be on the island, and come on out to the Magic School Bus Picnic.
Yeah.
And we had told the people who ran the ferries, because you have to take a
Yeah.
ferry from out to Toronto Island. And we told them, listen, we're expecting a lot of people. Hey, listen, we've been doing this for a long time,
Yeah.
guys. All right.
Yeah.
We've handled lots of crowds. We know how to do it. Everything's going to be okay. It's like, all right, yep, no problem. Hour later, holy crap, man, look at all these people. Like, the line is going out. It was going snaking out to Front Street, and then they had to turn over and around and down the street.
Yeah.
So they ended up calling in the ferry drivers who were on their day off, so that they could double the amount of ferries that were taking people over, right?
Nice.
And they were just, these guys are coming in a day off, and what's happening? What's going on? TVO Kids, that's what's happening. All right,
Yeah.
mofo? TVO Kids is happening. Let's go. We had 15,000 people on the island over the course of the day that came out for the Magic School Bus Picnic. And it was just, we did our live show. We were, airing the shows, and then we come on in between the shows, and it was crazy, Dave. It was nuts.
Yeah, it was exciting times to work on that show for sure, and it was amazing the way those kids responded. So, how many seasons did you finally end up doing on TVO Kids before you decided to move on to other projects?
I was there for 4 years. So
4 years.
it was so started there so full time. Like I said, I did some part time stuff with them, and then it was from June And then my last day was May 30th, 1999. So it was 5 years to the day that I did the pilot for what? That was
Yeah.
94. May 30th, 1999. That was the so I told the kids that I retired. So 99 was the same year Michael Jordan retired, Wayne Gretzky retired, and John Elway retired.
Mhm.
So I figured if I used the vernacular of retiring,
Yeah.
they would understand, okay, like, it means that you're not going to be doing something anymore,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean you're going away. You're not dying, or, you're just going to stop doing this thing. Or at least that was my hope. So
Right.
that if they were doing it, they'd understand, okay, he's retiring too. So, and I've always referred to it as my retirement. I've never
Yeah,
said
I know.
that.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, I wonder why it is that he always refers to, him leaving TVO Kids as being a retirement. And I thought, well, maybe he just didn't like the word. Yeah, well, I quit TVO or whatever it was. It was an ugly word for him or something. So he's gone with retirement. It wasn't. That makes sense the way you described it.
No, it's true. No, even like with you, with all adults that I talked to, I've always said, yeah, when I retired from TVO Kids in '99. So I don't know if, and maybe they, I mean, yeah, quit is a strong word. Quit sounds like, this job sucks, I quit.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I've never, and
Yeah,
I've
it's not a great word, but yeah.
No, it's not. I never thought of it as such. To me, it was like I was retiring, the same way that, athletes retire and they, your shirt goes up to the rafters. And, for me, that's what it was. And it was, even that was really, really good. I know they wanted to minimize because they were worried about, viewers being sad about me leaving. So it was
for sure.
1 month that it was
there was a lot of discussion about that kind of thing on the show, and I remember too. Even I worked on the show for a year, and then I moved on to another project at TVO or TFO, which is with a sister station,
right?
French language sister station. And I remember I didn't work on the show, but I remember going out for lunch with you and Martin, the producer of the show, and chatting with you about what you should do next. And because you did think about it for a long time, because the show was a really big part of your life, and you weren't sure at the time whether you'd kind of done everything you could do there, or what the merits were of going out on your own. And then finally you decided that you would go out on your own and try new things. So I remember you talking about it as being a retirement at the time, and then you did springboard off to obviously a lot of other great things. But I think we've always talked about this, what a magical time that was to have worked in television and to have gotten into television at a time when it was very much grassroots. Or at least that show was.
That show was. I mean, not a whole lot of chefs in the kitchen. We had a small team. Even at the end of my time, it was still fairly small. I mean, it was starting to expand. But at the time that we were there, it was, we were all sort of in our little cubicle area, right? On the fourth floor of TVO, fourth floor south. And we all could see each other. If you looked like, if you saw a map of where our seats were, everybody could pretty much see each other. Or at least we're in shouting distance.
Yeah, there'd be people who worked in the legal department who would be walking by on the way to get a coffee downstairs, and would stop in the hallway and kind of look over one of those cubicle half walls while the team was like sitting around the round table and spitballing stuff, or even rehearsing in the office space or whatever.
Working stuff out.
It was fun. It was fun, and I think even the people who didn't work on the show enjoy the energy of that group. Because it was very much the energy of young people.
Yeah, having fun and enjoying like what they're doing, right? I mean, look, the truth is that not everybody gets to, right? Not everybody does, enjoy what they're doing for a living and stuff, right? So, but it can be kind of infectious when you're around people that are.
What have been some of your favorite projects post TVO Kids?
You know what? I mean, when I originally left, I started getting into animation. So what they do in Canada is that, I didn't have an agent at that point. The first 5 years when I was working at TVO, I had no agent.
Yeah.
No, just going in and doing my thing. So, I figured, okay, let me find out how the industry works and let me see if I can sink or swim. Right. And so I got an agent and what they do is they just send you out for everything. Right. And I had always had this idea of, hey, listen, I'm Joe from TVO Kids. Like, I'm pretty sure you could just sort of, I should be getting like juice box commercials and, this would just parlay into all kinds of things and stuff. Right. And they were like,
juice
no,
box money.
yeah, like that should be all me, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all coming my way.
Mhm.
And I learned after that was a very American way of thinking.
Right.
Like in the United States where there's a star system and
Right. Yeah.
you should
It's very
definitely be
different here.
hawking that stuff.
Yeah.
Here it's just you're gonna go out for every commercial, you're gonna go out for voice stuff, you're gonna go out for just, off you go.
With everybody else.
Yeah, with all the riffraff. You're not special here, kid. Off you go. You might have been at this audition. It was for Coors Light.
Mm-hmm.
It was this huge cattle call, horribly organized. It was it was a, can we swear on this podcast, Dave? Is it all right?
Go ahead and swear.
Have we decided it was a shit show? I mean,
That's
there's
fairly
no
fair.
other way to describe it and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember it was beer commercial. It was for Coors Light. And
Yeah,
they
those
wanted to
commercials
mix-
were always insane, right?
They were crazy. This particular one, Dave, I think was nuts. I think you were there, and at some point, like you were there for a while and then left. I was still there. I was there for 4 hours at this thing, right? 4 hours, and they brought me in and out twice. And there was they were auditioning. They were casting 6 spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just figured they're just going to do all 6 commercials at the same time, which is why this was crazy.
Right. And they'd see 6,000 people for those 6 spots, right?
Yeah.
It just felt that way.
Yeah. It was bedlam. And the one commercial was, a bunch of, beer drinking guys, at the side of the pool. And, and there's bikini girls, right?
Yeah.
Girls in bikinis. And so, of course, they literally had girls in their bikinis at this thing. Right?
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. You would remember that day. It was off the page. I couldn't believe it. Like I'm in here with these 6 dudes and you're up against the wall. Then they bring in the girls and then, so they come in and they're in their bikinis. And then this one, I know they're used to it because they're models and this is what they do. The one, her agent didn't tell her that, she was supposed to bring a bikini. Is her lingerie okay if she just has her underwear?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this direct. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We have to get an idea of it and stuff. All right, fine. And now I'm the guy sitting by the pool, and then this actress has to sit on my lap and say her line,
Mm-hmm.
and she's in sheer Calvin Klein bra and panties, like this, like sheer. I'm like, and so this is happening, and then I swear to you, Dave. She's there and delivering this stuff. And then there's another bikini girl who's sort of behind me to the left talking to this other guy. And then in between takes, she taps my shoulder and I look over to her and she's like, "Are you Joe from TVO Kids?" Like, yeah, I sure am. Oh my gosh, like I watched the show and it's just so much fun. Like, yeah, that's right. And now you're in a bikini looking at Crawl Space Joe with a model on his lap in sheer Calvin Klein bra and V-string. Like this is happening for real. Like this is what's up.
Show business
that kind
grand.
of thing. Oh my gosh. And that kind of thing would happen all the time. I mean, it's one of the great things about TVO Kids that it's sort of, it's always follow me in the best way because, you're in people's homes every day. Right. I mean, only anchor people and maybe like the VJs on Much Music at the time,
Right,
were on television every day.
Yeah,
so,
you also had people. You also had kids that grew up with you.
Yeah.
To this day, you still run into people who are now parents and talk about how they used to watch you on a daily basis when they were kids and how it formed them in some way.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, now having left the show, it was sort of okay. Like what? Like you're trying to go into it fresh.
Yeah.
And because you've been told, yep, it's got to be fresh, and nobody cares about all that stuff. But everywhere you go, they care about that stuff, and which is great. I mean, the reason why I retired at the time was that if I wanted to try new things, you worry about being typecast, right? Like if and I'd always said if I knew that I could do it for like 20 years and that I just be able to make a living and no problem, 100%, like absolutely. But even in back then, 99, TVO, the budgets were being cut. There's no guarantee if if it's how long it's going to be there, and so I mean, yeah, Mr. Dress Up can do it forever and Friendly Giant's doing it forever, but
Mhm.
you know, you don't know if that would be the case there. So yeah, if you're ever going to have a chance to kind of try new things, this would be the time to do it before people just say that's all you can do.
Right.
And so that was cool. I did a show called Metabots.
Yeah.
I did a couple of animated shows when I first started doing things.
Yeah, I remember
Metabots that was an anime that we recorded in 2000. And it was, that's when Pokemon was huge.
Yeah.
And you knew they were just trying to find whatever was going to be the next Pokemon. So and a lot of animation happens in Toronto, and dubbing of those shows happens in Toronto.
Yeah.
So the animation sphere is huge there. I just did my warmed over. I always say it's my warmed over Chris Rock voice, which I have used many a time.
Yeah.
And it's worked out and stuff. But he's supposed to be this energetic guy. He's a little robot who's got an attitude. So Iggy, come on, we got to get out of here. Let's go. And ended up getting the show, which was great. Metabots has followed me for years and years because it ran 3 seasons, and Metabots had this cult following.
Uh-huh.
And over the years, when I first built my website, the page on my website, I could always see that was the most looked at was Metabots.
Right.
Because, animation fans, because this is also before cons, now cons are everywhere. There's all these Comic Cons that, people can go to and connect and find their people. It was not like that 20 years ago. It was it was still a very select and small community to be able to find everybody and stuff. Right. So when I was posting stuff about Metabots, they were, oh man, this dude's the guy. This is Metabee from Metabots. And so it was sort of my first was like, oh man, okay. Yeah. There's stuff out here to be done. And so Metabots was probably the first thing outside of TVO Kids where I was like, oh, this thing has a following and people really like it and really enjoy it. That that had like a real impact. That was a year.
Another one you did that I remember that I got a good laugh out of when I realized, wow, Jesus, some of the stuff that Joe's working on is really huge. Is I remember being out at Toys R Us,
right?
And walking around and picking out Christmas gifts for nieces, and I stumble upon the Fisher Price section, and you'd been doing Rescue Heroes.
Right.
And you had your own action hero where you would pull the string on the back. I'm just kidding. You just pull the string on the back. That's just dating myself there. You push the button on the back of the figure. You could hear your voice until eventually the battery ran out of the thing or whatever.
Yes. But,
right, they like push the back of the, what was it was Rocky Canyon was your.
Rocky Canyon. That was a character. He was the mountain climbing rookie on the Rescue Heroes.
Yeah.
So, I remember that record. Because they have you record like 120 different lines, right? But the way technology worked, you had to say it one word at a time. See, hey, Billy, there's a mountain up ahead. You got to, you've got to have a coherent sentence, but you got to give breaks. It was just the way they said we had to do it. And this was like 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So, like my friends were freaking out because they had, they had younger brothers or they loved Rescue Heroes. And now, Rocky Canyon he's a black dude. Uh-huh. So it might as well be me, young guy, looks like me, huge, gigantic muscles, just like me. I mean,
there you go. Pumped as all hell.
That's right. Yoked. and they had, I'm 150 pounds, everybody. Just stuff like that. I grew up playing soccer, so I'm lithe.
Yeah,
that's my build.
Your spirit animal is 300 pounds.
Yeah, yes, a little athletic. But this guy, gigantic. But you could press the button and you could hear me, Rocky Canyon here. Hey, Billy, let's go. And it's like, oh, Joe, you got an action figure. It's just like, well, I mean, it's Rocky Canyon, but it might as well be me. It's my voice.
Yeah,
it's me.
It's like your own G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip.
Oh my gosh,
was it G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip?
He did.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy. That's right. Kung Fu grip. That's right. So that was amazing. So it's like, wow. I mean, so Metabots is booming. I got an action figure, and Rescue Heroes went for like 4 years.
Yeah.
They did a direct to video movie that was really popular. Like it was just so much fun. So it was just really, and for me, again, this is, you're just learning. You're still just learning and finding stuff out and
Mhm.
figuring things out and everything like that, right? So it was, so it was good. I mean, it was, so it was doing some animation. Got to do did a show for Leafs TV. They were Leafs and Raptors were just
Yeah.
launching their digital channel.
That's right. Yeah.
And look, there's nothing. It's really exciting to be somewhere ground up, when they're just starting something.
Mm-hmm. So you did POV sports. You did a lot of sports stuff for a while there, and you were going out and doing Grey Cup games, and you were doing Pan Am games, and you were done a lot of sports reporting and roll-ins, and
Yeah. We were. I mean, the sports show at CBC was cool enough to do POV sports. But then part of my contract was that I would maybe do something with CBC Sports, like once a month, or it was something written in there, right? Just to have one more person doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was cool because, like I've always been, like I said, I grew up playing sports. I watch everything. I played soccer, ran some track. I've done, but I've always loved sports. We got to go to the Heritage Classic,
right?
2003. So that was the first one. It was Montreal Canadiens, Edmonton Oilers. It was the outdoor game. That was. So
and they always play like a football stadium, or where did they play that one?
Commonwealth Stadium,
which is where the Edmonton Eskimos played.
Edmonton Eskimos play. Yeah, where.
Oh, that would have been cold.
It was, bro.
Yeah,
that was a different type of cold. They said if it went under minus 25 degrees Celsius, they wouldn't play the game.
Yeah,
because it would just be too dangerous. They couldn't guarantee the ice quality because I think at that point it would crack.
Yeah, when it gets too cold, it gets pretty bad. Like just ice can be too cold.
Yeah. And they said if it hits minus 25 Celsius, they won't play. At game time, it was minus 26.
Yeah.
But they played because there's no way that they're not gonna.
Yeah.
Like you're already deep in it. You've got everybody. And like this was the first one. Like now these stadium games are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
But that was the first one. And it was a super big deal because that was the first time that Wayne Gretzky was going to play in any sort of alumni game.
Right.
He's Wayne Gretzky. He's not doing that stuff. But, Guy Lafleur's coming out for the Canadiens. They got Larry Robinson. So, it was.
Yeah, because they'd make a big event of it, right? They'd have the actual hockey game, which would be part of the regular season, and then they do like an old timer kind of game, right?
Right. Yeah, but that weekend was insane in the city because the greats, every Edmonton Oilers great, every Montreal Canadiens great. Then the teams themselves were going to play a game, Commonwealth Stadium, freezing cold. It was. I mean, it was just like, man, like this is bonkers.
Yeah.
And I was there for it and stuff, right?
Like it was the show.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So that was very, very cool. I mean, one of the great things about that gig was, TVO took me all over the province of Ontario, which was great.
Right.
That CBC took me all over the country, and got to do things in the States. We covered X Games 1 year, so got to be down there and got to talk to Tony Hawk and got to hang out, and Johnny Knoxville. We got an interview with Johnny Knoxville, and just hanging out in LA. That was Staples Center.
One of the things that's really cool about working in this business, you get to meet some really neat people. A lot of them are not celebrities; they're just amazing professionals that become become part of your life. And this is how we met, working on TVO Kids.
Yeah, man.
What are some of the celebrities that you've met that really kind of made their mark on you?
I mean, you know what? It's been cool, sort of. I mean, it's nice. There are people that obviously have been doing it for a long, long time. And, and depending on what point I met them, I've been doing it for a relatively short time. So,
right.
It's kind of weird. Like, I would never say that we're peers, right? Because that would be ignorant. It's like I'm just sort of get my feet wet and they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's, but then you're sort of like, it's surreal to sort of be having conversations or doing stuff with them or whatever, right? Mr. Dressup had come to visit in the crawl space once.
Right.
And that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Then met him at the Geminis years later and just got a picture with him and chatted with him for a couple of minutes. And there was a big crowd, maybe partly because, people knew I had a background in children's, but I think more because I was the person that had the guts to go up to him and get the picture. And I always felt bad about that because then after I left, everybody, oh, Mr. Dressa. I was like, oh man, I just screwed him. He's
Right.
Poor guy. He's probably just trying to get home now. And now everybody's coming up and like, I broke the bubble. So I eternally apologize to him for that. But that was
the thing about Mr. Dressup is some people might be listening and they're not from Canada. Mr. Dressup was an institution in Canada. He was on the CBC. He was basically our Mr. Rogers, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he was
1,000%.
He
they
really
worked together.
he really I mean, he really played a big role in children's broadcasting. I mean, he was the giant
guy. Yeah, he was the guy for decades.
Yeah.
And, so it was a big deal when, you were sort of, anywhere around him, regardless of if you worked in children's television or not. I mean, there's people who, especially there at the Geminis, right? I mean, that's the best of the best in Canada.
Right.
And, there's a reverence, right? I mean, look, there's not many people do a show for 30 years. It's, a hit, for something to keep on going. It's like, look, if you get 2 seasons, even today, I work on a show. It's just like, oh man, it'd be great to get a second season. Let's get a second season.
Yeah.
Oh man, no second season. Like it's a big whoop to do multiple seasons. So that guy
and be relevant for that many seasons too.
And that's the thing too. I mean, look, the great thing about, and that's one of the great things too about children's is that if you're doing it well, you're going to get a fresh batch of viewers coming up the pipe, right? Others age out, but you got another bunch that are coming in, right? It is a show that you can do for a while. I mean, that's why it's a big deal when like something like Saturday Night Live can go for 40 years because, it's still sort of that same kind of late night sort of vibe and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not always getting like a fresh batch every couple. There's generations, but it's different. So the fact that Ernie Coombs, aka Mr. Jessup, did the show for that long, it was a big deal. So when people were, again, these are grown men and women looking at him at the Geminis, it was like there's a respect there, right? Mm-hmm. And then I come on over, hey, what's going on? Listen, can I get and very, very nice. And but that, so that's then the lineup started. So
you mentioned Bill Nye. So. Bill Nye was another guy like that who's just really made his mark in broadcasting and educational broadcasting.
When I met him, I remember he wanted to be he was trying to get into the space program. So he was he'd applied or he was trying to get into the he wanted to go to space.
Oh yeah.
So I remember like at the time I was trying to memorize international broadcast language. Alpha, Beta, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot.
Right.
And I remember like I was talking to him about that. And then of course Bill Nye, Hotel India, Juliet Kilo, like just ran through the whole thing in 5 seconds. I'm like, all right, show off. All right, I get it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're going to go to space. Okay. Like, I'm sorry. I got to sit there and be like, is it October? October? And he's just whipping through everything. So he's really, really a cool guy and stuff. Very, very nice. Kratz Brothers, they were great as well. When we got to meet them, they were, just really, really great. They're still doing their stuff. Like I was joking around last year, TVO Kids celebrated its 25th anniversary.
Right.
And they had a little bumper with hey, this is Chris and this is Martin. Happy 25th birthday, TVO Kids. And I remember posting on my Facebook page, because I've got a bumper of them when we did the 5th birthday. And, they got dark hair and they're just young and strapping and like, happy 5th birthday, TVO Kids. And I put it alongside these old dudes with their white hair. Happy 25th birthday, TVO Kids. I'm like, oh man, these guys they've been into thick and stuff like that. Right. So they were cool. Mm-hmm. I had an opportunity. I had a small role in a movie called Blindness a few years ago. It shot in London, Ontario, and based on a book by Jose Saramago, and it was this movie. And so I've always, I think you know this about me, Dave. I've never been shy about saying it. I've always had a thing for the redheads. I love everything. I love everything under the stars. But there's something about red. I just they're special.
There's a
They're
special place in Joe Motiki's heart for the redheads.
Right.
The little
And
gingers.
yeah, and I did. So I got this role in Blindness, and it starred Julianne Moore.
Right.
And
oh, goodness.
She's a redhead, Dave. She's got red hair.
Attractive lady.
Yeah, she's pretty good, and she's kind of talented.
Yeah.
And her hair's not red; she's blonde for the movie. And and now I'm like, you don't want to be a chump. Like I've seen chumps. Those chumps that just wanna. It's like, don't be a chump, man. Like, act like you've been to the end zone before. Like, just don't be stupid. But I just hey, hey, and she very, very nice, and we chatted for like 2 minutes on our way back to the trailers. Where she makes a left to her gigantic trailer, the house that she is living in that has wheels, and I'm gonna make a right hand turn
back into your trailer right next to the toilet.
That's right. That's where mine is and stuff. But for 2 minutes, I chatted amicably with Julianne Moore, and make no mistake, 2 minutes is a long time. Don't think that is not. That matters. That is 120 seconds. So I spent that quality time with Julianne Moore. So that was just one of those nice things where it's like, all right, you know what? Like I've never, I've acted. I'm a host first and foremost. I've done a little bit of acting here or there.
Yeah.
I'm passable, so be it. But I got to spend 2 minutes with Julianne Moore, Dave.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And isn't that the best too, when you meet somebody that you look up to or you admire and they're a cool person?
We forget. And again, this is one of the things that, I'm fortunate to have a good disposition, that I understand that, like, look, it might be the 1 millionth time that I get asked for an autograph or I get stopped on the street. But for that person, it's their first time.
Mm-hmm.
They've never seen you before. So if they like what you did, or they they have an affinity for a character that you played, you can take a minute, right? It might be a lot of minutes for you, but that's their minute, right?
Right.
And look, Julianne Moore, it's been a long day, so I mean, oh my gosh, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
Talking to me about the such and such. But look, at the end of the day, it's just you can have a conversation, and I'll always have a great Julianne Moore story to tell for the rest of my days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully there's a lot of people out there that have a good Joseph Motiki story that they get to tell for the rest of their days, because that there are some people that just it's all and it's like, you gotta relax, man. Like, you gotta take it easy. People are happy to see you. They like you. There are worse things in the world than having people like you or like what you do, right? And that, if they get excited because, now they get to meet you and they get to see you and they get to talk to you, this is going to be their cool story for like many years. So you can be the hero of that cool story, or you can be the dickhead villain that is forever going to be, oh my gosh, he did that? Yeah, man, he was not nice.
Yeah.
You got to make a decision, which,
well, and
again,
you've had a lot of those moments where you've stopped and given time to people who look up to you and who have known you from various shows that you've worked on. So you've always been very generous with your time in that regard. And it is important because, like I was saying earlier about the Bruno Gerussi story, or, meeting the kid on the subway who was very excited that you were taking public transportation. You never know you never know when you're going to meet somebody like that, where it's going to be a big moment for them, where something's going to click for them too. Like, not only do they just get to meet somebody that they really admire, but also that they figure out, oh, this is like a real regular guy. This is a real human being. And this is somebody like me. And maybe this is something that I could do too. That's part of the equation as well, right? Is being accessible for young people coming up. And that's always an exciting moment for people as well.
Oh no. Look,
I don't know if you ever met anybody like that when you were a kid, that you were like, oh, wow, this is something I could do. Was there a moment like that in your life where you were like, I could do that?
You know what? I don't think I ever had a definitive moment. So I was fortunate at a young age where I was like, I knew that here in North America, Dave, our job it's enjoying your job is the key to life. The only thing that we do in North America more than our job is sleep. Other parts of the world, they get it. In Spain, they siesta in the afternoons. Norway's got 3 months of paid vacation. There's the work-life balance. They've got it figured out everywhere but North America.
Exactly.
It's only here where it's 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. So the key to life is your job. You better either love your job or you better love what your job affords you. If you don't have one of those two things, if you don't love what you're doing, that 50, 60 hours, or if you don't love that the money you make from that allows you to pursue things that you really enjoy, it's a wrap. You're the person that comes home and you drop the briefcase and you yell at your wife and you're angry at the kids and you become that guy or girl. If you like what you do, everything's available and everything is open to you.
Yeah.
And I think it was making that decision and understanding that the key to your life enjoyment is going to be your job that sort of steered me into this.
Yeah.
There was a job fair, a school fair, where the schools come with their programs. They come to the high schools and, hey, you should get into this program. You should do this program. And RTA, Radio and Television Arts, they came and they were talking about it. And they said that 93% of their graduates get jobs. Mm-hmm. Maybe not necessarily in the field that you want, but you'll work. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm like 93%. Okay, I'm a practical guy. I got to be better than 7 of every 100 and I'll work. Mm-hmm. Sounds good to me. And that's what I decided. I decided, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So when I started school, I took a year off in between high school and university. And I went to South Africa to go visit family for a year.
Right, because your parents were from South Africa, but you were born here in Toronto.
Right.
Yeah.
So I figured, you know what? I'll probably never have a year to myself again where I can just go and just meet everybody and see family members and just, and experience it. So went to South Africa. I met 132 family members while I was there.
Wow.
Grand aunts, grand uncles, cousins.
Sounds like a lekker time.
There's lekker. There's Dave lekker.
Lekker. It's a lekker vacation.
Lekker. That's right. Some Afrikaans for everybody. His beautiful wife is South African, so
that means super cool. It's a great. Right. Lekker. This is some lekker chicken. Right. Some great chicken. Right.
Hey, you want some cool drink? Hey, you want some cool drink? Hey, get them a cool drink.
So you go to South Africa, you meet all your relatives?
But at the same time, I'm figuring out what I'm doing for school.
Yeah.
And I decide that, you know what, I'm gonna go to Radio and Television Arts. So I wrote my letter to apply for the program because you had to apply. Only so many people got in. I sent it to my great friend, Jeff Segura, who I know since public school, and I got his parents to type it up for me. Because even back then, it was a big deal to have like a typewriter or whatever to type something up properly. I didn't want to send it to my parents because I know my dad was excited about the thought of me doing law, and I didn't want him thinking or sabotaging that I wasn't going to do law. So
right.
I gave them the to send in for me, and Jeff sent it into Ryerson. And then when I got back, I saw that they had brought me in for an interview and went in. So, so I told my parents, yeah, I'm going to take Radio and Television Arts at Ryerson. My dad's like, well, that's not law.
Yeah.
that's not what? Like, what's this all about? So
that just sounds like fun. You just want to have fun.
Yeah. Which is, you don't want to, again, seem like that flighty guy. So I guess this comes full circle. That's what was great about getting and getting that show. Yeah. Because this is what I'm going to do. And it's a real thing. And there's going to be there's paychecks and it's real. Yeah. And I'm not just some goofy guy who's just playing. It's legit. So it worked out. And that was sort of the thing. I think that was sort of the key, knowing that the key to your life is enjoying what you do. And
exactly.
Look, I'm 26 years in it, Dave. And, I've been fortunate that I've always worked and it's been steady, and I've been able to, all my bills get paid, and I've never had to have another job. I've never, some people have to. I've been lucky. I haven't had to. And this job is taking me all over the world, and I'm fortunate for the experiences and stuff. As you should say, a hammy hamster. Maybe that's That's another story.
Yes, yes. No, you're right. I mean, if you can get paid to have fun and provide some enjoyment for other people, it's a pretty cool thing. We've talked
Yeah.
about this before. There's people often say, well, if you could do it all again, would you do it differently? There would be some things I would change about how I did what I did. I don't think I would embark on a different career if I had an opportunity to do things differently. I've enjoyed every moment. I've had an opportunity to meet, like you said, a lot of amazing people, and come full circle here. That's why I invited you on the show, because I met you early on in my career, and first probably about 2 years into my career. It was the first time I worked at a television station. It was the first time I got to do live television, and that was a really important time because I met some of the best friends I was ever going to have at that time. And you were one of those people. So having you on the show has been really a cool experience. I'm glad that you came on today, and it's been great to be your friend, my friend. And I thank you for that. I'm not shy about telling my friends and my male buddies that I love them. And Mr. Motiki, I do indeed love you, and you've been an amazing friend. And I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations like this, because you have a lot of exciting times ahead and exciting new projects that we will be discussing in the future.
Sounds good. Love you too, brother, and honored to be number one in the podcast. And good luck with it. And I think you're really gonna enjoy the experiences and the conversations that you're gonna have. So good for you, bro. Keep at it, and thanks very much, homeboy.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. What a great conversation with my buddy Joe. I'm sure he'll be back again on another episode, as we really barely scratched the surface. As promised earlier, we put together a segment that features some funny, bizarre, incredible, and sometimes stupid stories told by some of my favorite people. This one is told by my childhood buddy and neighbor, Tim Hoare. So, without further ado, here's Tim's story.
Please don't try this at home.
Hi, I'm Tim Hoare, and this is my story. So here we are, 15 years old, me and Dave at Saint Laurent Shopping Center. I think we'd just seen Weird Science or Fright Night, and we're bored, and I can't remember whose idea it was, probably mine, but I still blame Dave, to hop over the roof parking wall onto the roof of the shopping center itself. We just wanted to look down through the skylights. You fill in the motivation. So we're up there for maybe 5-6 minutes when a helicopter flies overhead. Dave's like, "We better hide, they're probably looking for us," and I'm thinking, man, what an ego on this guy. I convince him that's ridiculous, and we continue on our mindless roof romp. We finally get bored, hop back over the wall, only to find cop cars waiting. They blare their lights, and the next thing you know, we're in the back seat, and one of the cops is telling us that we set off 7 alarms. They accuse us of being high, which we surprisingly weren't, then drive us home in separate cars to confront our parents. I lived right across the street from Dave, so I'm watching as he gets walked to his door, and I'm getting walked to mine, and I'm thinking life is over for us. Then he disappears into his house with his cop, and I don't know the rest of Dave's story. I'm sure he told me the next day, but years of partying, you know. So my cop, turns out my dad knew him from high school. I get sent to my room, and they enjoy a scotch while they catch up on old times. I remember my dad saying to me the next day, "So, you're not going to do that again, are you?" He had a smirk on his face when he said it. In a strange way, I think he was proud of me. Anyway, I'm Tim Hoare, and that's my story.
My thanks to Tim for that. My thanks also to my friend singer-songwriter Jerry Stamp, who wrote and performed the Cool Story theme song, as well as all other stings, jingles, and transition music for our show. Thank you, Jerry. You rock. To listen to some of Jerry's music, look him up wherever you stream your music. So that's it for episode 1. Please join us next time for episode 2. Until then, stay cool, friends.
Everybody's had some adventures. Everybody's had a few close calls. Everybody a story. What's yours?